Hi there, Chris here with another fresh tip for you all. In this video we are going to continue our look at painting the Satan Shard of the Void Dragon. In this video we are going to continue our work and we are going to paint the little, nanobot thing that's going on his body, the little, pixels and everything that's kind of building. I don't know what to call it, but we're going to call it a nanobot thing. I have no idea. I've not read the codex, so couldn't tell you. We're going to use Golden's Fluorescent Pink and Quinacridone Magenta. The magenta is a regular opaque color. It is not a transparency, I'm pretty sure. And we're going to mix these in roughly a 1-to-1. Now, I've thinned this down, and basically what we're going to do is we are just with the dampness of the brush, really, is what I just thinned it out with. I didn't use mediums or anything like that. And just very carefully, I'm going to follow around about 1 millimeter or so into the perimeter of each of the little details. I'm going to allow the color to pool in some of the recessed squares, and on the raised squares, I'm going to just make sure I get the outside of the square, as it were. And really we're just going to follow along the edges of the details all over the model. So it's running through his torso and his lower pelvis, or upper pelvis I should say, lower pelvis, and through his arm and down his one leg, as he's kind of like, it's this whole, he's being built or being taken apart. I don't know, one of the two here. Maybe he's not entirely there. I have no idea, but whatever this effect is, it's pretty darn cool. And it's very, very interesting. And of course, you can go about this in many different ways. You could treat it just as kind of like, I suppose, like how Harlequin diamonds are done. Or, we could treat this as a glowing energy effect or anything like that. And so I'm going to kind of go about, mid-ground as far as what this effect and how I'm visualizing it and everything like that. And of course, with this initial tone, I also create some lines here and there just to represent, obviously like the glowing edges of lines being, or the little cubes being met up. I assume he's being assembled. I don't assume he's being taken apart, although he could be being taken apart, or I don't know. Again, I'm not sure what this effect is really supposed to be 100%. Is he being assembled? Is he being disassembled? Is it glowing? Is it not? Is it solid matter? I don't know. We're just gonna run with it and have fun. We're not taking it too seriously here. So once that is done, we're going to come in with some Fluorescent Pink, and with this we're just going to slap this onto the palette. No thinners necessary, just the dampness of the brush. And really all we're going to do is follow the edges and go for some larger shapes along the edge of each of the details. So I'm kind of following it, filling in squares, raised and recessed. And we're also following the edges. There's also inside edges as well, where the, obviously, like where it falls inside the model, and we're trying our best to get some of those areas as well, just so that we get this kind of complete kind of look. Now, I don't really want this look to compete too heavily with the lightning and the icon in the head. I want these to be at varying intensities, and that one can be kind of challenging, especially because the body itself is so bright. We went with a chrome here on the body, and under natural lights it is really, really bright. And in fact, like, the camera doesn't really show it that well, that how intense this silver or this chrome really is. And it is a challenge to create this kind of effect on that. If you were going to paint this guy up going with darker colors or darker metallics or something like that, then you could probably really go for it and go for a really bright type effect for this. I don't know what this effect is. I keep calling it a nanobot effect. I was like pixelating or a nanobot, I don't know. We're going to use the Fluorescent Pink and some Titanium White. Both are from Golden. We're going to mix these in roughly a 1-to-1 mix ratio. And we're going to begin highlighting. And with this, I'm going to color the raised squares. I'm leaving the recessed squares. You can see how there's like two different squares on the surface. Those recessed squares we're leaving darker. The raised squares, we're highlighting them. And we're also doing an edge highlight around the perimeter of the details itself. And whenever you can get the interior edges, I would recommend that as well, as that will kind of really kind of fill out the form and make the effect feel a little bit more dynamic, I suppose. And just and of course I also intended to kind of like have varying degrees of intensity as well, and we may get to that later on, I think. Once I follow around the perimeters of pretty much everything and catch all the raised squares, we are going to continue on. We're going to use some fluorescent pink, and we're going to use 2 or 3 drops of the white. It looks like 3 drops I use there. We're going to give this a thorough little mix. No mediums or anything added. Just the dampness of the brush is all that is necessary for thinning the color. These colors are very, very thin to begin with. And then very carefully, I'm just going to begin laying in some highlights. Now, with the raised squares, I'm catching just the bottom edges or a bottom and a left or right corner kind of thing. I just bring intensity to one of the corners. This is just a visual aesthetic. It's not like we're highlighting to a particular type of scheme, because again, this is really entirely up to you as far as how you want to take this intensity and, you know, what you want to make up for it. I mean, however you visualize it really is entirely up to you. We're jumping back into the quinacridone red, and we are going to add 2 drops of Liquitex Fluid, and we are going to mix this up. Also a heavy load of water, and this is going to bring resaturate all the area. And in fact, it's really quite fun because even though that we have a fluorescent pink in there, with this thinned out quinacridone red, it saturates the color and it makes it more vibrant, and it actually helps with the glowiness of it all. And because it's so thinned out, you can see we just get a slight transition around the edges of each of the details, and that's all I'm going for. I'm just looking for a slight shift in color around, kind of like when we do OSL. I was toying with the idea of doing like an OSL effect on this, kind of, you know, initially I was thinking of it more like a molten type of idea, but then I was, you know, looking up examples of like the Matrix and pixels and all these different things, you know, like Iron Man's suit and all these examples of like this little nanobot effect that's going on here. And I couldn't really find a good one that I was really kind of happy with conveying. And so I just kind of ran with it. And of course, if you are going to duplicate an effect you see in a movie, definitely have your reference material in front of you so that you can constantly call back to it when you are working. And also, when you do have an idea, stick with the idea. Even though you might not seem like it's turning out the way you want, keep going with it and give it a try. And of course, if it doesn't work, well then, you know it didn't work. And of course, the next time you give it a try, you can do something different. If it's, you know, rank and file type things or a different kind of character or something along those lines. But otherwise, you know, don't be afraid to just kind of go for it in these examples, especially if you're going for an effect we often see like in movies and things. It's, you know, it's a fun opportunity to try out different things. And so you can see here with this quinacridone red that it was really just resaturating that area. I did not want this color to conflict with the lightning and the glowing heartstone and the glowing of the hand orb thing and the icon in his head. I did not want those things to be diminished or to become visually too confusing, as again, I wanted that color separation in there. So that is it. That is the nanobots on this Satan shard. Big thank you to all my patrons. Without their support, these videos would not be possible. If you're considering Patreon support, click the link in the description below and you'll be taken to various tiers of support, and just click on whatever, you know, makes sense to you. Big thank you to everybody who does. Take care of those brushes and they will take care of you.